Whether you are running a course or running a business, terms and conditions are really important. And there are three main things that are important with terms and conditions. Money, the root of all evil apparently, mutual expectations, and intellectual property. So the first one, money. It's interesting how having a properly worded terms and conditions can help you avoid disputes about payments. It helps your client understand what the payment requirements are, but it also helps you just to pin them down. And I've had a few clients come to me where they've run courses or they've provided goods or services, and their terms and conditions haven't been sufficiently clear or haven't been sufficiently helpful to them on the aspect of money. So for example, one of the items that you can have in your terms and conditions is that if there is a cost associated with collecting any money that's outstanding, you can recover the cost of collection of money owing on the course or in that business. Another thing that the terms and conditions can be helpful for in relation to money is just talking about when or if the contract can be cancelled. And so if you've got a course that goes on over a span of several weeks, can the person cancel that contract? And if so, again, what happens to the money? Do they have to pay the full amount? Is there a non-refundable deposit? If it's not clear from the wording of the terms, that can lead to disputes. In another example, I have a client who installs electrical things like fridges and freezers and air conditioning units. And so he had a situation where he's got his terms and conditions, and that's good, but it didn't say what would happen if somebody was paying off. Some of the units are very expensive. So he installed a fridge in a fish and chip shop, and they just didn't pay him. They paid him a little bit, and then they didn't pay anymore. And so his question to me was, can I go and get my fridge back? And of course, what am I going to do with all this stuff that's in the fridge? So the terms and conditions, if they're done correctly, they can help you avoid a dispute in that situation. So in the end, I did manage to get him his money back from the client. But then what we did was we updated his terms and conditions so that it made sure that it covered off that kind of potential monetary dispute. And we made it so that he retained ownership of the goods that he installed. And if they refused to pay him, he could go and get his goods that he had installed. So terms and conditions can help you with the financial side, the money side. The second one is mutual expectations. Now, it's interesting that disputes in business or disputes over a course that you're running very often are not because one or other of the person is tricky or trying to do the other person out. It's because people simply have a misunderstanding as to what they're getting into. So, for example, I've got a client who runs online courses, and she does part of it is face-to-face. The main part of her course is a 2-day face-to-face component, but she has a whole lot of other components as well. In her mind, as soon as she's given the person or the person's attended the 2-day face-to-face component, as far as my client is concerned, that's the bulk of the course. Everything else is just given as a bonus. But what she's found is that she's had some clients who have done the 2-day face-to-face and then refused to pay for the rest of the course. So in their mind, the 2-day face-to-face is just one small component, and then online they get another, 10 online parts of the course. So they say, I'm only going to pay you 1/10 of the course because I've only done 1/10 of the attendance. I didn't do any of that online stuff. And she's saying, well, no, the recorded stuff that you get from me online, that's a bonus, that's a gift. What you're paying for is actually the face-to-face. And if you've done that 2-day face-to-face, you don't get your money back. You don't get to stop paying. You have to pay off the entire course. So, of course, now we've updated her terms and conditions. It's very clear. She's got a non-deposit amount, and the course, the terms and conditions say that if the person wants to cancel the course, they have to do so before they come to the face-to-face component. So again, you can see how terms and conditions, having them properly written, can help you avoid potential disputes. Now, the third area that properly written terms and conditions can help you with is in the field of intellectual property. So just simply putting in your course that the material that you provide to the person is your intellectual property and they're not allowed to use it for anything other than operating their business, that will mean that they can't go out and use your course material to teach other people, basically your potential clients that they're now going to try and teach your material to. And so intellectual property is quite important to cover off. One of my clients, Liz Campbell, she's a great, I'm her client, she's my client, and she teaches a particular a strategy for blogging, and she's got an hourglass that she teaches about. There's certain principles that she teaches about blogging, and it's different from what anybody else does. And I was at one of her courses, and one of the attendees said, "Oh, that's a brilliant concept. We should be teaching everybody this. Let's put this on the internet. Let's show everybody this idea, this concept." And so, of course, we had to tell her that this, the hourglass, is actually a trademark of Liz's, which has been gone through the trademarking process, and nobody can use that without her permission or without paying her a royalty, without she probably doesn't want it online. She wants people to come to her course. That's why she created the strategy. So it's important to make clear to people when they come on your course that what you're teaching them, or if they use services of your business, that what you're providing to them, you still retain the intellectual property. So for example, if you are a web designer and you're designing a web page for somebody, who's going to retain the intellectual property? In that case, probably you don't mind your client having the intellectual property, the copyright in the web page. But in Liz Campbell's case, she didn't want people to go out and misuse her trademark hourglass because that was her intellectual property. So again, it comes down to setting expectations. If people know what you expect and where you draw the line in the sand, you're much less likely to have a dispute. You're much less likely to have a problem. And avoiding legal disputes, honestly, can save you tens of thousands of dollars. So getting your terms and conditions right is really important because it can help with collecting money, setting expectations, and protecting your intellectual property.